What's going on, everybody? This is the RGR Football Channel. My name's Daniel Harms, film analyst here, and today, this is the culmination of what we've all been waiting for. It's the day before the NFL draft. And this is the guy that Chiefs fans want, that had been mocked to the Chiefs fans, to the Chiefs for a little over a month now. I think we've seen the rise of this player. And today, we finally answer your wishes and your requests. George Pickens, wide receiver out of Georgia, is on the docket today, the day before the draft, maybe the day before he becomes a Kansas City Chief. Let's talk about him, okay? He's a polarizing player, suffered an injury in 2020 and the spring of 2021, I believe, actually, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe it had to have been, right? Like early spring? So yeah, maybe I'm just toying with my own mind. So regardless, he did suffer an injury and he was able to grind his way back to play in a few games down the stretch for Georgia last year. Overcoming all those odds is not easy to do by any stretch, and it did impact him athletically. Obviously, you're not fully healthy, and maybe he won't even be fully healthy until he hits the NFL training camp system. That's always a possibility too. I don't think he was even fully healthy for his combine time. For 4.47, he did okay, not a very good vertical, better broad jump, but his explosion numbers weren't great. You know, he had 33-inch vertical, 125-inch broad jump. So numbers you expected him to be better than with a 6'3", 200-pound frame. That's the thing. He's 6'3". The arms, they don't match it. Like, he's got a 6'5" wingspan, so he's not super long for a guy his size. 32 3/4 arms, or 3/8 inch arms. Not great, not perfect, not great, but somewhere in between. And he has small hands. He's got smaller than 9-inch hands. But he makes all this work in terms of the ball skills and the catch radius and the catch point and the body control. He finds ways to make all of this work in his favor. So he's a very interesting prospect, and I tell you, I have some questions about him, but we're going to get into his tape right now. This is George Pickens. We're going to change that color because it's not working for me. There we go. That's much better. George Pickens. Longer, bigger in terms of size-wise. Maybe not the most lengthy guy in the world, but we're going to start off with one of the issues that I think he's going to see in the NFL. While he has some release packages, he is not the kind of receiver that is going to consistently create separation downfield with stem manipulation. I don't see a whole lot of that in his game, and I think that specifically in man coverage, he can let other corners and guys that aren't as physical with him body him up a little bit and make 50-50 catches more difficult than he makes them seem sometimes. And contact is going to be more important. It's going to be more prevalent, in the NFL. Is going to be more noticeable, and teams are going to want to see that. They're going to want to make you play through that, especially if they see that as a weakness. And right now, I would say that is a weakness of George Pickens' game, even though he has that, the 6'3" frame, and he covets this body with a lot of ball skills. He still has a lot of work to do with the press and physicality. It doesn't even have to be press. It just has to be physicality at the top of his route, through his route, or anywhere after his move, left or right. He does have some of the struggles there. So that's going to be an impactful part of his game right out of the gate in terms of letting physicality bother him. But then you have when he doesn't get touched. Like when he has those releases up at the top of the screen here, you see he has that ability to track the ball down the field. And this isn't even a great, it's not a great release, but it's a bad corner play more likely. You see you have got a lot of field here. You have a lot of field to work with. So he's just going to kind of let the corner think for a second, and then he's going to run by him and stack him upfield. And that's when the ball tracking comes into play. He makes this catch over the shoulder. Really nice adjustment to it. Locating it. His head is turned around. I know it's hard to see, but his head is already trying to find that football. He also knows where he is on the field. Great things you want to see from a receiver that has that type of ball skills and has those physical attributes that you're looking for, the height and that kind of thing. Finding the ball immediately. You need to look for the ball when you're ready, okay? And I think that George Pickens does that extremely well, and he doesn't have the best quarterback play. He doesn't. But let him go get it. Find a way to throw this into open space. And again, this is actually a pretty accurate throw at the flag there, so he's able to record that touchdown. Great location and great patience and understanding. Just let the ball fall, find you, and make it happen. He does that very well, but he also doesn't have to. He can climb the ladder and get some inaccurate balls and catches that way too. Even for a guy who doesn't have the best vertical or the longest arms, no, he can make it happen. All right, and he's just. I'm not going to say he's super versatile in terms of lining up on the outside, in the slot, at the Z, but I do think he offers some ability to play in the slot as a big slot, but you don't want him in the slot, in my opinion. He doesn't have that wiggle, that natural wiggle. He doesn't necessarily need all the separation. He does have, like I said, some issues with the contact, but I think where you want him is on the outside. But again, flexibility, playing that inside-outside role at Georgia. One of the big things about Georgia is that he did not run a ton of routes, and that's based off the Georgia offense. If we know anything about Georgia, it's that their offense is predicated on running the football. And while we're always taught, scout the player, not the helmet, there is history at Georgia with this being a problem, translating to the NFL, the offense, and knowing the offense and learning new offenses. We've seen it with two Georgia receivers, actually, in Kansas City, in McCole Hardman and Chris Connolly before him, where they didn't necessarily translate well in terms of the route running tree. So while George Pickens can make this slant look pretty good against off coverage and then get the ball because it's a little bit high so he can go get it, he's not being asked to create separation. He's given the separation. That's why he moved him into the slot in the first place. And then he just catches the ball. Like that's all it is. But again, finding that ability to go get a ball, climb the ladder, as they say, is not an easy thing to do. It's not something that every receiver can do, but the reaction time that it takes, specifically as you notice it when he's late looking for the football, he can find it very quickly and then high point it for a guy who has shorter arms and doesn't have that leaping ability. So all things considered, the tools are there, and that's what we're focusing on with George Pickens, is the tools are there to make the impact and the transfer level to the NFL. Is he going to find his way in the route tree? We're going to have to find out, especially if the Chiefs do draft him. We know the Kansas City's offense is not the easiest to learn, especially for wide receivers. It's among the most difficult in the NFL for a reason. Andy Reid requires a lot of their receivers. But one thing that you're never going to have to worry about is the double move. This is a guy who could come in and be a double move player for the Chiefs like Demarcus Robinson was out of the gate. So right here, he understands that you have a safety coming over top. So if you can make a less athletic linear player in terms of changing direction and keeping pace with a receiver, if you can make him turn his shoulders from covering you downhill this way to now looking for the movement that way down up the field, I imagine you can create separation and create a blind spot, which is what he does. He creates a little blind spot of his own and then blows by the corner. Had this ball been a little bit more accurate, this might be a touchdown. But another thing about George Pickens is that he doesn't care where the ball is. He's going to try to get it. Effort is a huge part of his game. He lays out for just about everything. He lays out for blocks. He does whatever he can do to play at that high level and be a guy who can make the catches when he's open. He tries to do whatever he can to make that catch, especially when he does a great job of creating a blind spot in that safety coming over, and he creates separation downfield. You want to pay that off, so he's able to get that ball. He does make a lot of acrobatic catches down the field because of the ball tracking, the ball skills that he has, the strong hands. For smaller hands, he has really strong hands, and you really want to see a guy who has small hands like that maximize the strength he has. So it's very nice to see the ability to constantly lay out for footballs and come down with it and catch them with his hands. This is really where it comes to interpretation for George Pickens, because this is not by any stretch an advanced route. It's also not necessarily hard to create separation on a slant route when you're single covered underneath, okay? But after the catch is a projection for George Pickens. Because he's 6'3", it's going to be a little bit harder for you to have that ankle flexion, and the catch to attack conversion sometimes can be a little bit slow. the few times that I have seen it with Pickens, it's not as, what's the word I'm looking for? It's really not as prevalent in all of his tape because they don't give him a lot of opportunities to catch and run. But underneath here, he does a good job of manipulation. Just watch him as he attacks. It's just going to be a little out and stop. No stop route. And the catch to attack. Catch. Okay, so I know that there's a corner as George Pickens. I know that there's a corner coming down to my spot right now, okay? I know. All right, so take a step inside. I know he's coming to where I am now. Press a little bit, and then I'm going to go around. Right here. Oh, this is the guy that he presses and goes around. But still, press and around. And 2 guys. So he makes 4 guys miss on the same play because he understands where they are on the field and how to use his body willingly. That's something we see Travis Kelce do a lot of in terms of the size and understanding where players are on the field and having enough ankle and hip flexion to allow him to create a little bit here and there. It's not a huge gain, but he creates after the catch because he can see the field very well. He has great vision, and he doesn't necessarily turn into a running back after the catch, but maybe he could in a better offense. Georgia's not known for having a lot of routes and letting him do yards after the catch stuff. So maybe in a different offense he would. We don't really know. It's a lot of projection-based stuff. And that's why George Pickens was one of my most difficult evals, because while he has a lot of the tools you're looking for, it's hard to project a guy who comes from a very poor offense into the NFL, specifically into a Kansas City Chiefs offense that is... Oh, that's not the right guy. My apologies. Into the NFL to learn one of the most difficult offenses. This is just a little example of his hip movement, okay? So one of the things that I focus on for receivers is, specifically out of the stem, is how do you eat space? How quickly can you eat up space? How consistently do you do that? And how do you treat a curl route? How quickly do your feet move? How much do your hips sink? Do they over sink? Do you not sink enough? Do you just turn for the football? Like, all of these things come into the curl route. So if you watch Pickens here, he's a little bit slow, and then he's got pretty good hip sync and decent footwork in it as well. It's not like he's adding a ton of steps, but the one thing, in my opinion, that he really needs to work on is consistency eating up this space. If you're given that space for a guy who runs a 4.47, he probably runs faster, because I do think that he's got that much speed to him. It's not a consistent amount of stem work and stem speed, and it's not like he's trying to change it up to confuse the corner. He just didn't do it. So as for all the effort that's in his game, I think he can use a little bit of route, stem, speed, acceleration, and taking up a lot of that space and use it to force corners to do what you want them to do. That's the biggest thing for me with Pickens. But I'm telling you, the ball skills are there. The effort, again, this is an effort play. This is a pick thrown by the Georgia quarterback. But what he does here, again, this kind of demonstrates the physicality aspect of the game that he does not really like so much. He doesn't fight back there. He doesn't try to get leverage on the corner. It's just a fade route, but don't run fades. Fades suck. But the big part of this play is the effort, okay? This is a pick, but he rips that ball out. He does not give up on the play, and he makes it so he gives his team an opportunity to get the ball back, okay, to score a touchdown. Rips that ball out. And unfortunately, Cincinnati comes up with the fumble recovery. But still, I like the fact that he doesn't give up on the play. And regardless, it might be a pick, touchback anyway. But even so, he gets that ball out, continuously trying to make an impact on the play one way or another. He does it in all aspects of his game, in blocking, in the pass catching, as we saw earlier, in fumbles and interceptions. He runs to try to hit somebody to get with the ball after picks and fumbles, things like that. He's trying to make an effort on the field. Obviously, there's some questions about his attitude, being suspended a few times from the team, and the suspensions from games and things like that. So while there is some risk to his game, he's a very intriguing player. But this is just a simple back shoulder throw, things that he does in this offense that I would like to see the Chiefs do more of, but body control, ball location, again, this is excellent. Timing. The timing is perfect. He does it superbly where he presses the corner up the field and then he comes back just in time, extends, catches, ball away, body control, all of it. It's all on display right there. He has all the flashiness that you could really want from the receiver position. And then he comes into this package that's 6'3" with speed downfield. He has a lot of the blocking attributes that Andy Reid likes. Like, it's all there from a profile aspect. It really is. He has a ton of those tools. But there's a lot of questions with the offense. Is he going to learn the Chiefs offense fast enough? Is he going to be able to run enough routes in the NFL to stave off these corners that are more physical? Is he going to be able to create separation down the field with not just his speed, but stem manipulation, corner manipulation? Is he fully healthy? Will he be fully healthy? There are questions with George Pickens, okay? I don't think he's the best route runner, even without running a ton of routes at Georgia. I don't know. Granted, I assume that the Chiefs were able to get enough information out of him. So if they do select him, it's because they're comfortable with where his mindset is at right now, today, going into the NFL. So off-field stuff, I'm going to take out of consideration right now, because if the Chiefs do take him, it's because they had him in multiple times. They've talked with him. They know the man that he is, and that's what's important. The medicals are the big question for me. Do they check out? Is he going to be fully healthy for this season? Is he going to learn? Is he going to be able to grow in the NFL? Or is he what he is at this point? A lot of Georgia receivers come out, and like I said, I'm trying to not do that, but transferring what they do in college to the NFL is a hard thing to do for an offense that doesn't do a lot of stylistically things that the NFL offenses do. So projection, Georgia offense to Chiefs offense, is it going to be there? We're going to find out eventually, whether it's with Kansas City, whether it's with another team. But it's all there, the flashiness. I love the way he plays the game. I really do, outside of physicality within his route. I think he has a lot of tools. I don't have a first-round grade on him, though. I don't. I have an early second on George Pickens, and that's mostly because I project to him to be able to get back to health and utilize those ball skills well. And if it weren't for that, he probably would be a third-round pick for me. That's kind of how it runs, but lots to like. George Pickens, I have an early second on George Pickens. If he goes in the first to the Kansas City Chiefs, I would not be mad about it. I would think they're very confident in his head, his mental aspect, his medicals, and where he can go from there. But all things considered, drafting a receiver has not really worked out for Kansas City. So I'm really hoping that if this is the guy, that it's the one that works out. So I hope you guys enjoyed every aspect of this film review, getting to know more intimate details about George Pickens. I loved watching his tape, even the stuff that he struggles with, in my opinion, but he's fun. These are the kind of guys I've always leaned towards watching. Denzel Mims, Hakeem Butler, N'Keal Harry at his time in, where was it? Arizona State. Yeah, at Arizona State. So, yeah, I really like the guys with ball skills, but I'm hoping that he can do some more things in the NFL. If you guys make sure, if you're new to the channel, and you hit that like, the bell, and the sub notification for your benefit, for the channel's benefit, for everybody's, really, to be honest with you. The draft is tomorrow. I'm doing the live stream from this room right here for 3 hours, however long it's going to be. I'll be putting my daughter down. I will be hopping on here. Maybe I have to do some recovery with some of the picks. That's going to be fine. We're going to deal with it. We're going to get this done. It's going to be a lot of fun. Everything that we've worked towards, all the film reviews, all the work, all the draft guides, it's all been put in for tomorrow. Let's get it going. Everybody have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you at the draft show tomorrow night.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more, and subscribe to RGR Football.